Hello, this is Dan the Meek, and this is another Draconis 8 episode. Um, in this video, we will be focusing on Rooted. We've kind of touched on it in some other videos, but I thought this time we're just going to demonstrate it in action. I've been doing a lot of verse AIs in some of these videos. I think this time we're going to take it online and specifically into rank too, so we don't know what we'll see, and we'll see how it goes. First, let's take a look at what I'm going to run. Got a lot of different rooted decks here. We're going to go with this particular one though. You can see here, you've seen this rooted dragon before if you've seen some of the other videos. We got some fast rooted, as I mentioned I like, although the dragon himself is slow. Get some extra stats for that dragon. I don't mind it as much slow on the dragon. I tend to prefer my dragons a little slower, I think, in general, for that extra chance to get flight that a regular rooted wouldn't have. And as you can see, they're all fairly min-maxed. Could be a little better, but I think these are decent, especially for 17s. Same for a 20. You can see how much stats you give up to get to 20, but still relatively well balanced as far as we got our weakest across from our strongest. We got a decent side. Same here, same here. Now, with Rooted, let's just talk about that before I start. And I'm going to try to make this quick because some people have said these run a little long. With the Rooted, I've said this before, but you want to take advantage of the fact they can't mess with you. So speed, I go first. It doesn't matter if they go second and use a disruption because they can't disrupt them. If I then am playing something other than Rooted, then I don't want to go first because if I go first, they can get disrupted. Whereas if I go second and all I have in play are my Rooted, they're stuck hitting one of those Rooted and fizzling. So by having everything else be slow when I'm playing Rooted, I am able to have a nice balance. I can still get some speed when I need it with the fast Rooted, but then I'm less likely to have my non-Rooted cards be targets. Now, if I draw a whole bunch early on, there's not much you can do about that. If I don't get my Rooted, then I'm in a bad shape. That's just the nature of Rooted. But if I can hold off on playing them for a bit, then when I do play them, there's a good chance they won't be targetable the turn I play them, and they will just have Rooted still for at least one more turn beyond however many it took before I couldn't play a Rooted anymore. That's the general idea. They don't have to be stomps, fears. I've mentioned before, I tend to prefer faster confuse though, because it's a little harder to land confuse when you're going second. They can push you off the board. So of the disruptions, these are the ones I like best. But again, it doesn't have to be these ones. These happen to be the ones I decided to use when I'm making this deck. You can see I've already taken on ranked and played 12 times. And so far 12-0. We'll see if we keep that streak going though. Let's take it out. That's the general gist. Let's take it for a spin. Online. New game. Real time constructed. Now let's get her started. You can see since some other videos, I've taken some L's against some other players. These most recent ones were actually against an AI bot. And I even took an L there, which was unfortunate. I was messing around with a different deck just to try new stuff out that I didn't think would work, but you never know until you try it. And ended up hitting an AI person, and they won. So hard AIs are no joke in ranked if you do have them turned on. But most of these points came to human player losses. It happens, especially when you're messing around with non-meta stuff. But even with the meta stuff, there's some good players on here, as you probably have experienced yourself if you have checked out the game. All right, so I do have the AI on if we don't find a human person within however long it takes. I think it's like a minute or two. But hopefully we find somebody. There are often people on around this time of day, but they may not necessarily be in the mood for constructed, so we'll see. And unfortunately, we did get the AI. So we'll just play that out. It is still a ranked match, so I have points in the line. As you saw, You Do This has already beaten me before, even though it wasn't with this deck. Again, generally speaking, I'm going to want to go with my foundational cards first, especially if they're rooted. This one is very playable first. It can actually get either of these. But that's not what I'm going for here, because as you can see, they could disrupt stuff. Now, I was going to go slower, so they would have gone first, and I would have pushed them off. But either way, they're going to have to fizzle if they want to go after this. So they'll more than likely just take one of the other sides, is my guess. Doesn't really matter. What does my guy have? 37, 35, so I can take either of these to push them off. I think I'll just go here. Not think about it too hard. Lock in my 2 points, and they can never take that away since the tree here in the middle is also rooted, so there's no way to spin either of us off or push either of us off. So I'm always going to have these 2 points plus the 0.5 guaranteed from winning the speed. That was unfortunate. We'd rather have drawn any of these rooted here. Didn't happen. But if he does play another disruption, unless it is also 1 speed and I have higher power, then they will still be stuck. And to that effect, I think I'm going to take this one, since it can still get to 30, and it's less likely to win the speed battle if he does go slow disruption as well. Let's go ahead and lock that in. Doesn't really matter which way I go on this one. Ooh, and we got his dragon. White dragon, somewhat middling speed on the lower end though, so it's got decent stats. So this gives me an interesting choice here. I could still push this one off, and if I do, I can get 2 3 points and -2 to them, so that'd be a 5-point swing. But on the downside, now I'm going to take 1 from his range here. I could also push him off. Now, unfortunately, I cannot beat them if I push them this way. I could push them up, though. Let's just take a look at that. It's a 4-point swing, not bad. And it still leaves this open for something in the future to play. Both options are reasonable. I do think I am going to push this way, though. Try to set up a corner for myself. Leave a strong spot here. I could go all the way around so he can't even turn on me, and I might actually still prefer that. I think I'd rather leave the weak one to make sure that he can't spin on me and win, since none of these sides can beat a 35. Talking a little too much here, so we'll lock that in before we get into the red timer. All right, we got to root it a little later than we would have preferred, but better late than never, as the saying goes. I mean, I would like to hit my dragon there, but I don't know how reasonable that's going to be, especially since this is a spot he would want to hit too, with the 27 being available for him. So I might just slot in there, although that will leave a weak corner. He doesn't really have a good spot for me to attack, but I think I'm still going to go with it. Worked out pretty good for him. He went very slow, which is a good counter to high speed, especially it's 20. I'm leaning toward this because no matter which way it spins, he can't beat me. And this will put his dragon off. It does mean I can't push the dragon that way, though, so that is something to consider. Especially since I do have that other one in hand with the 50. Would push it off, get 15. That's tough. Maybe I should have just gone for that, but... I do want to leave that available. This leaves a really weak corner, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to give him the corner. He can now get 3 off of that. We'll find out at the end if this was a mistake. One thing I do have, though, if I fear this guy, I can spin this around on anybody who comes at me from this way, such as this 17 here, which is what I figured he was going to do, since he can get a 3-point play off of that. All right, I'm going to go with this now and try to push that dragon off. Sorry for that sip of tea there. Putting that in real quick will get us some extra buffer time for future talking. Enjoy this nice art, the thunder or lightning giant here. So apparently you do this is run a deck with lots of stomp. We're both stomping it up. His is more mid to high speed stomp to my low speed stomp. He only has one option here, and he doesn't really have a great way to abuse it on me because if he pushes over, let's see what she does. Yeah, so he pushed over. He can't score there. He loses one there, and that gets nothing off of this. Now the advantage to what he just did is that if I now do my previous plan, he will still get a point off of that. So it's only a 4-point play instead of 5. And also, he took away my 2, 3. I mean, it wasn't. I got that one back, but he took away 2, so that still wasn't a bad play. You can see it gave him the lead. Honestly, this one might be the worst here. I do still have that fear in my back pocket, but that's a lot of points I'm giving up. I can put a 3 there. 2. Yeah, there's no great way to disrupt it, unfortunately. So I'm going to stick with my original plan. No, did make another somewhat weak corner for myself, unfortunately. I would have preferred my fear there, so I could try to attack this from below. But didn't get it. Let's just go with our dragon. We don't have a good space to play it. If I try to force this into play here so that I can spin it later, then I'm going to get like not much off of it. So you go here for 1 point just to block the corner because he is about to, let's see, can he get it? 20, 12. Actually, she can't get the aura off that corner. So that actually worked out well for us. I'd rather this one be centralized to put my ranges into play, but 1 point is not enough. I don't know, man. Up here, I can get 3. But then again, I'm locking this in. I'm not really able to disrupt much, though. Even flipping this around, it's going to beat on all sides. So let's just do it. Take our 3, lick our wounds. I've mentioned this before. When you're playing defensive, it's okay to be a little less aggressive. This was not a super aggressive play, but I don't have to be aggressive here. I don't really have anything I want to spin yet. That fear just never came my way, which is unfortunate because it would be good here. Turn her around. I could get double points off of this and a point there for a 4-point swing. If I had something I wanted to spin, I would definitely go with the king. I can hit here, but then I make a really weak corner. Not a huge fan of that. The advantage of this to this guy is I can go wherever I want. Probably 17's enough. And then I'm locking stuff down since it's rooted. But I think I would rather plan for disaster with this guy. We'll see what he does. He doesn't really have a tremendous option here. Yeah, he can do that, but it's not incredible. Just takes away 1 point for me. It gives him 1. I want to keep that available for my final turn. So we'll go here. I hate to leave this weak corner, but I don't really have a great other spin. Let's see. I guess I could go up here, spin that. Nope. It misses it by 1. Yeah, and then again, I would, because I could hit there. If it was just a little bit better for me, didn't quite work out. Yeah, I guess we'll just stick with this. Target that, make sure we hit that. I'm leaving a really exploitable corner here, so that's not good. But I at least can do that. So I got a 50 pointing down at him. And this isn't leaving too weak if he did push me up here with yet another stomp. Hopefully he's done with the stomps. That's been a lot. So I mean, he has a potential for aura here, but it would have to come at the expense of taking a 50 as well, more than likely. All right, let's take it. All right, so we got a couple spaces we could land here with this fear. So even though it's slow and you normally want fast late, I think it's the best option. There's no way for him to fully block me off. It's an interesting final play there. So 17 would not have been good enough against that 20. So he is lost. He's already down by at half. I can flip a lot of stuff, but I think this is what I want to flip. Yep, get up to 2, 4-point swing as I was mentioned before. Again, I could have done it over here as well. It just would have been for 3 instead of a 4-point swing. So he had no way to fully block me. And this is one of the reasons I like fear, because even slow fear late can be useful on that final turn if you need it. So that is one of the strengths of fear. He also, as you saw, saved this fear for the end and went high speed to get the spot he wanted, but in this case, it just wasn't a good enough spot to overtake my lead. So here we go. So I had my revenge on You Do This, although I've beaten that bot, as you've seen before. Not my first tango with him, but either way, hopefully that gave you an idea of the concept of a rooted deck. As you can see again, general idea of the deck. Lots of rooted here, then lots of slow disruption, really slow anything. But I particularly, if I'm going to be slowing, I want to go disruption so I can do something to them when I go second. I have more targets by going second. And early on, I want to play as much root as I can reasonably play so that they don't have valid targets. Obviously, there'll be cases where I might still go otherwise if it's a better point play, but generally favoring the rooted early and then favoring everything else later. And yeah, see, it can work out. Hope that was interesting. And as always, you can check us out on Discord. Leave any comments or questions on the video. Always happy to help any way I can. Thanks.